We're about to experience a big moment. Nick Chubb has been practicing over the last week or so, and he's about to come back. It's going to look like this week. He's looking good on the field, and we got to sound the alarm in fantasy football one last time because you got to try and pick him up. You got to try and get him. This is the ultimate lottery ticket. You catch a lottery ticket like this midway through the season about once a decade. Usually it's rookies with good draft profiles who are coming back hurt, who got hurt somewhere in training camp or the back end of their final season in college, and you're waiting for them to come back, kind of like a Jonathan Brooks. But now you got a Nick Chubb coming back from injury midway through the year. He's going to have some ramp up, but you don't know what you're going to get because we know the upside. The upside's there. Can we get to it or are we not? But we're going to dig into advanced analytics and everything today. But before we do, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Tap with the finger on the phone, click it with the mouse on the computer because we deep dive these players every single day, as many players as possible. On top of that, we use these videos to help you set your lineups. Rick Flair's watching you. Do not disappoint him. Click that button. But he's back at practice. He's been back at practice. We've covered the clips. He's been looking good. He's been looking good. He looks healthy. He looks thick. He's got more pop than the other running backs. He looks like Nick Chubb. He looks like he's back. But once we get the pads popping in game, what's that going to look like? Are we going to be like 80%, 90% of what he was? 100%? Because that's going to be very interesting to see because he's been exceeding expectations all along. And now it's going to be mid-October, early November when we see him back on the field, getting a good workload. And we look at the running backs here for the Browns and you're like, yeah, it's highly likely. And I got to take you back to this again. Every time I watch this, I get happy, and I know you do too. 540 pounds on a tsunami bar back in July. Back in July. I've covered this like 10 times with you guys, but every time I talk about Nick Chubb, I got to bring it up. But we got to watch this because this is one of the biggest feats I've seen from an NFL player coming back from injury. Him getting under the bar here, and a tsunami bar, not your normal bar. Look how it bends. It's supposed to take away the stability. It's supposed to make it a lot harder. Getting down, getting up. Bang. Getting down, getting up. And that's in July. We could be past 6 bills by now because that's where he was prior. We've covered his former squats before. He was up there. And look at this. Look at this. Look how jacked he is right now. He was putting in work. He was putting in work while injured, working around it in the weight room. He wasn't stopping. He wasn't stopping. He was putting in work. He has not stopped working. There's no atrophy. There's barely any atrophy in the legs, and then you're looking at the body. There's nothing there. He has been putting into work. One last time. One last time. That's Nick Chubb, ladies and gentlemen. You're not rooting for that? You're at least not rooting for that to come back big? Because that could happen. We've seen running backs do that before. Adrian Peterson's probably the closest to his talent level. Like, he's a top-tier running back, top-tier athleticism. He's one of those types of running backs. One of those running backs that you never want to discount. That's the type of running back he is. And you look at this backfield. Jerome Ford, he's banged up right now. Not looking great this season either. Deontay Foreman, Pierre Strong. He's going to make a run this week. But he's Pierre Strong. And now you got Nick Chubb with that. You got Nick Chubb with that. He's going to come back. He's going to be getting work. He's been putting in the work. He's been putting in the work to come back. He can't take a season off. He's on the last leg of his career when it comes to age. He may have a few years left, but Father Time, he knows is there. He wants to get every juice squeezed out of that turnip, and he's going to do that, and he's ready to rock and roll. You don't get this good in the NFL if you're not ready to rock and roll on any given Sunday, no matter what. No matter how bad your team is, no matter if you're coming back from an injury, you don't get this good. You don't become Nick Chubb by half-assing it. That's why he's going to come back. That's why he's putting his best foot forward. Remember, Jerome Ford's remaining on the sideline. He's not out there. He's got a hamstring. He could be back, could not. We're watching that. For week 7 is a work in progress. We could see him get some carries this week. We could see him on the field. We could see him get a 5-yard run, a 10-yard run. Maybe 3 carries for 25 yards. Maybe 3 carries for 15 yards. We're going to be excited for that. That's going to grease the wheels. And a matter of time before he starts seeing more touches. by Thanksgiving time, he's probably going to lead this backfield in workload. He's probably, more than likely. We're looking at the practice clips. I have some more posted today. He's going to lead this backfield in touches. Look at him versus the other running backs in some of these clips. Now look at the older ones if you haven't seen them already that I have posted from the practices. He's looking better than those running backs. He's looking better than those already because he's Nick Chubb. He's not an inferior running back that when an injury like this happens, it knocks him out. It did not knock him out. He's squatting damn near 600 pounds or more right now. He is not knocked out right now. He's ready to rock and roll. He looks like Nick Chubb. Pierre Strong's a good running back as a prospect, a running back to pay attention to back in the day, but it really has not hit or come to snuff. But if something happens or if they start giving him more workload to this week or maybe even next week or whatever, he runs a 4.37. We got good pop off the step where they were massively productive at South Dakota State at the small school level. Something to note, they did trade for Pierre Strong, but he has not hit yet at the NFL level. He does have some specs in his game where he could surprise you on any given Sunday. He's a surprise back, really. He's a back you can put back there and maybe 10 touches. Could really blow up on any given touch because he has that speed factor. And on top of that, he's proven to be productive at the college level to a massive degree. So there is some good things to his game. He's great off the spreadsheet. We just need to see him get it done on the field. Nick Chubb is a different animal. He's a different animal. If it weren't for the knee injury back in college, he would have been a first-round pick. The fact that he had the knee injury and got drafted 203, that says something. And Nick Chubb's a top-tier running back. He's a top-tier running back. He's one of those running backs where 10 years from now, we'll still be talking about him, talking about the old clips, posting them on Twitter saying, oh, remember Nick Chubb back in the day. Nick Chubb fed families. Nick Chubb this, Nick Chubb that. That's the type of running back he is. He's not one of those jabroni running backs. He's not a good running back. He's a special running back. That's the difference between a Nick Chubb and, say, Chuba Hubbard. There's a difference. Chuba Hubbard's good. Chuba Hubbard's damn good and looking good. But there's a difference in talent level when you look at a Nick Chubb and a LaDainian Tomlinson and an Adrian Peterson and a Chuba Hubbard who's damn good, one of the top rushers right now in the National Football League. There's a difference. Remember, he's been productive, always will be productive. Will get you RB1 weeks, 6.3 PPR points per game. 16.3 PPR points per game, upside for days. We know this. We want this to be back. But if we're 80% of that, and we're at like 11 points per game for the rest of the season, a lot of you guys are going to want that. And a lot of you guys are saying, he's hurt. He's come back hurt. I don't want that. And the thing is, you picked up Trey Sermon. You picked up Trey Sermon. You picked up Trey Sermon, and you're not looking at Nick Chubb. You're not looking at Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, hurt with one leg, is faster than Trey Sermon. And he's playing on the Browns. And Sermon was playing with Flacco. And you're not going to look at Nick Chubb. You're going to make fun of Nick Chubb coming back from an injury. And you're going to pick up Trey Sermon and Cam Akers? What? You're going to look at it that way? He's going to get touches by Thanksgiving. He's going to get the workload in his offense. Maybe he's 80 to 90% of what he was, but that's 10 times better than Trey Sermon you guys were fighting for off the waiver wire, and he can get the rushing attempts. Will he get it now? Maybe, because they keep throwing Deshaun Watson out there. That might be happening, but you don't need him because you don't like the Browns, you don't like the offense. You can't get him. He's been stashed, and that makes sense, but we got to sound the alarm. You know how that works, and it's Nick Chubb. You know you need Nick Chubb. You know you want Nick Chubb. You know you're going to root for Nick Chubb. You want to see what happens. He's a stash play. He's the ultimate stash play right now. You'll never see another stash play like this for a long, long time. This is a top-tier stash play who should have been held with a death clutch. Like, I am not moving Nick Chubb. I'm not moving him because I do not know if I'm going to get a top-tier RB1 right now. I do not know. And if I get that, that's a league winner. Because I got other running backs I'm using right now, especially if I'm getting by. If it doesn't hit, what's the worst that's going to happen? Because he is Nick Chubb. Is he getting hurt and doesn't play? You're already experiencing that. So what's the problem here? You're already hitting those zeros. You just drop and move on. And then you can get your Trey Sermon or whatever. But again, it's really a no-lose situation outside of a roster spot. You're seeing what happens, and the upside is so immense here. It's so huge here that you got to explore it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.